At the dawn of humanity's earthly journey, when the world was still young and innocence still hung over the earth, a man walked among mortals, distinguished by his unwavering righteousness. This was Enoch, born in the 7th generation of Adam's line. He was a beacon of righteousness amidst a growing shadow that was spreading over the world. His steps were guided by divine wisdom, and his ears were ever attentive to the whispers of heaven. One day, as Enoch gazed upon the magnificence of creation, a brilliant light burst from the heavens, enveloping him in a blinding glare. His eyes, previously limited by worldly vision, were opened to the mysteries of the heavenly realm. In an instant, he saw what was hidden from mortal eyes: the wheels of time moving inexorably toward a destiny great and terrible. God, the architect of the universe, revealed to Enoch the deep and dark truths that were to come, a future in which divine justice would manifest itself with immeasurable power, purging the earth of the corruption that had stained it. But this purification would come through fire and storm, a relentless judgment that would shake the foundations of the world. Enoch, seized with reverential awe, heard the divine words echo in his soul. All will be struck with fear when the great and holy one descends to execute judgment upon all. The message was not for him, nor for his contemporaries, but for a distant generation, a people who would inhabit the earth in times of great tribulation. Enoch thus became the keeper of a terrible secret, the harbinger of an inexorable future. The weight of divine revelation fell upon his shoulders, and the shadow of coming judgment hung over his days. He knew that the world was heading toward cataclysm, and that divine justice, though late, would be implacable. To prepare humanity for the inevitable, Enoch pointed to the grand order of creation, a silent testimony to the glory and justice of God. "Look to the heavens," he cried, "and contemplate the eternal dance of the stars. They follow their celestial orbits with unerring precision, never straying from the path traced by the Creator. Witness the sun, majestic in its splendor, rising and setting each day, marking the rhythm of life with unchanging constancy. Observe the moon, in its waxing and waning phases, a silent ballet of light and shadow that governs the tides and illuminates the night. Everything in nature obeys divine laws with reverence and harmony. The seasons of the year follow one another in a perpetual cycle. Spring with its vibrant awakening of life, summer with its abundance and warmth, autumn with its melancholy beauty and harvest, and winter with its silent repose and promise of renewal. The rivers flow ceaselessly to the sea, carving valleys and nourishing the land. The seas, vast and powerful, stir and calm under the breath of the wind, obeying the limits set by the Creator. Enoch, with sadness in his voice, contrasted the obedience of nature with the rebelliousness of humanity. But men have forgotten the Creator and lost themselves in their own selfish desires. They have abandoned the paths of righteousness, violating divine laws and sowing discord in creation. They are not constant in their purposes, straying into crooked paths, contaminating the purity of the world with their impure actions. The faithfulness of nature, a mirror of divine perfection, served as a painful reminder of humanity's fall. Men, crowned kings of creation, had become the architects of their own downfall, choosing shadow instead of light, disorder instead of harmony. The coming judgment would be the inevitable consequence of this tragic choice. Enoch, with a heavy heart, for the vision of the future, warned humanity of the inevitable consequences of disobedience. Those who rebel against the Most High will never find true peace. Disobedience is like a poison that corrodes the soul, creating an unbridgeable chasm between man and his Creator. Inner harmony fades, giving way to anguish, fear, and uncertainty. Spiritual peace, once a tranquil refuge, turns into a barren and tormented desert. Those who reject God's ways bring upon themselves the divine curse. Their days will be filled with bitterness and suffering, and their years will be cut short by pain and desolation. The hand of the Lord will be against them, and destruction will come upon them, like a relentless storm. Their names will be blotted out of the book of life, and their memory will be lost in the mists of time, forever cursed for their rebellion. But amid the darkness of prophecy, a ray of hope shined for those who remained faithful. Lord's mercy extends like a protective mantle over the righteous. They will guide them with their mighty hand, shielding them from the storms, and guiding them along paths of peace and righteousness. With them, God will make an everlasting covenant, blessing their lives with prosperity, health, and joy. Even in the midst of tribulation, the righteous will find refuge in their faith, and the promise of salvation will sustain them until the end of time. Enoch's words have echoed through the generations as a prophet of God's justice and mercy. The shadow of judgment hung over the world, but the light of hope still shone on the horizon for those who sought God with sincerity, humility, and devotion. The choice, as always, belonged to men, to embrace the light and find peace, or to lose themselves in darkness and face destruction. Enoch's speeches, loaded with prophetic weight, resounded with the force of thunder echoing through the valleys of history. His message, though addressed to a distant generation, transcended time, offering a profound reflection on human nature, the destiny of the world, and the power of individual choice. The vision of the cosmic order, with its beauty and harmony, revealed the signature of the Creator, a God of infinite power and wisdom. Nature's fidelity to divine laws revealed the master plan that governed the universe, a cosmic symphony in which each element played its part with precision and submission. In contrast, humanity's disobedience, its pursuit of power and selfish pleasure, was marring the purity of creation, introducing disharmony, violence, and chaos. The impending judgment pronounced by Enoch was not an act of divine vengeance, but rather the inevitable consequence of the breakdown of the natural order. God's justice, like a mighty river, would run its course, cleansing the earth of corruption and restoring the lost balance. But this purification would be a painful process. Enoch's message, however, was not without hope. The promise of salvation for the righteous, those who chose to walk in God's ways, shone like a beacon in the midst of the storm. Divine mercy extended to all who repented of their errors and sought reconciliation with the Creator. Ultimately, Enoch's visions were called accountability. Each individual, faced with the grandeur of creation and the imminence of judgment, had the power to choose his or her destiny. The decision to embrace righteousness and obedience, or to succumb to the temptation of selfishness and rebellion, would determine the future of humanity. But while Enoch preached the message of repentance and hope, a new and terrible shadow approached, threatening to plunge the world into an abyss of darkness. In the heavenly realms, where the glory of God shone in unimaginable splendor, a silent rebellion began. The Watchers, angels of great power and wisdom, allowed themselves to be seduced by the darkness, abandoning their wells of light to give themselves over to the forbidden desires of the flesh. In the heavenly realms, where the glory of God was manifested in ineffable splendor, there existed an order of angels known as the Watchers. They were magnificent beings, imbued with divine wisdom and immeasurable power. Their beauty was like the light of the stars, their movements like the dance of the heavenly winds. God had appointed them as guardians of the cosmos, protectors of humanity, and heralds of His will. Their eyes gazed upon the mysteries of creation, and their ears delighted in the harmonies of heaven. For countless ages, the Watchers fulfilled their mission with fidelity and devotion, reflecting the glory of the Creator in their actions and thoughts. But the shadow of temptation, which had already tarnished the purity of Eden, was beginning to spread over the heavenly realms, threatening the integrity of these sublime beings. The world of men flourished with a wild and untamed beauty. Among these gifts, the daughters of men stood out with a beauty that transcended the ordinary. Their graceful forms, their hair shining like silk, and their eyes that reflected the depths of the sea, It was a sight that enchanted any observer. The women, though innocent in their grace, carried a beauty that, without intention, became the spark of a forbidden temptation. The watchers were not immune to the charms of these mortals. From the heights of the heavens, his penetrating visions captured the earthly beauty that awakened in their hearts a burning and uncontrollable desire. The purity of mortal women, their simplicity and vulnerability, became an irresistible attraction. Feminine beauty, while divine in its design, acted as a lure, diverting the angels from their heavenly purpose and casting them into an abyss of uncontrollable desire. Semjaza, the fearless leader of the Watchers, was the first to recognize the depth of the temptation that gripped his being. In secret meetings, far from divine reach, he expressed his longings to his companions. Semjaza knew that the proposal to descend to earth and unite with women was a grave transgression, a violation of the divine laws that govern the cosmos. Yet the promise of carnal pleasure, the prospect of feeling the touch and warmth of human beings, was a temptation he could not ignore. My brothers, the beauty of these daughters of men is not to be ignored. They have awakened in us a longing that cannot be contained. Let us descend to earth and take these women as our wives. We know this is a grave transgression, but the pleasure and satisfaction we seek justify the risk. The initial hesitation among the angels was quickly dispelled by Semjaza's fervent persuasion. The lure of earthly pleasure and the promise of unknown and forbidden experiences united the Watchers in a bold and dangerous conspiracy. To solidify their resolve and ensure that no one would back down, the angels swore a solemn oath on Mount Hermon, a place chosen for its majesty and isolation. This mountain, which reached to the heavens and seemed to embrace the firmament itself, became the altar of their unholy commitment. As they gathered on the peak, surrounded by the vastness of the sky and the echo of their own beating hearts, the Watchers raised their voices in an oath that would seal their fate. We swear in the name of God that none of us will abandon this resolve. We are united in this transgression, and together we will face whatever consequences come from our rebellion. Jaza declared, his eyes shining with fierce determination. By invoking the name of God to legitimize their conspiracy, the angels had desecrated the sacred. The oath, an act that should have been one of devotion and obedience, had been perverted into a symbol of rebellion and darkness. From that moment on, the Watchers were given over to the dark fate they had chosen, exchanging divine light for the seduction of darkness. Thus, Mount Hermon witnessed the beginning of an age of corruption, where beauty became the bait and the unholy oath sealed the downfall of the Watchers. This alliance with the forbidden not only defied the heavenly order, but also plunged humanity into an era of chaos and disorder, the repercussions of which would echo for generations. The night the Watchers descended to earth was marked by a dense darkness, as if the heavens were aware of the act of corruption that was about to take place. The angels, once glorious in their divine light, now trod the earthly soil, their hearts filled with desire and their spirits stained with rebellion. Each step they took echoed with the gravity of their transgression. They approached the daughters of men, whose beauty had been the catalyst for their downfall. The women, captivated by the majesty and power of the angels, were seduced and surrendered themselves to them. From this unholy union, the natural order was corrupted. The divine laws that maintained the purity of creation were violated, and the human lineage began to be contaminated with the celestial and rebellious essence of the Watchers. The Watchers, however, were not content with mere carnal union. They brought with them forbidden knowledge, secrets that were destined to remain hidden from mortals. These teachings, which included the making of weapons, magical incantations, and the art of cosmetics, were passed on to women, and thus spread throughout humanity. With these weapons you will be able to conquer and subdue, and with these incantations you will be able to dominate and seduce, said the Watchers. Women and later men began to use this knowledge for selfish ends, without considering the dire consequences of their actions. Violence spread and corruption took hold of the land, while the forbidden teachings empowered humans to commit atrocities. From this forbidden union, the giants were born. monstrous creatures that represented the perversion of divine creation. They were immense in stature, with uncanny strength and an insatiable appetite. The giants, known as the Nephilim, were the embodiment of the Watcher's disobedience and served as an omen of impending doom. The Nephilim, with their enormous strength, quickly became tyrants over humanity. They devoured the earth's resources, consuming entire crops and decimating livestock. Famine and desolation spread, and wherever they went, they left a trail of destruction. The tyranny of the giants was relentless. They oppressed humans, imposing their rule through brute force and fear. The land, which had once flourished with life and prosperity, was now overwhelmed by violence and injustice. Men, once free to work and prosper, now lived in constant terror of the giants. The degradation of humanity was evident. Society, once guided by divine laws, was now sinking into disorder. The Nephilim, in their thirst for power and destruction, had become the architects of a dark and chaotic world. They were relentless in their tyranny, and justice seemed a distant memory. Faced with so much oppression and violence, part of humanity began to cry out for justice. The prayers of the righteous, muffled by fear and pain, rose to the heavens. The cry of the oppressed was a desperate cry for liberation and for divine intervention to restore order and peace. Enoch, a silent witness to all this corruption, felt the weight of divine revelation on his shoulders. He knew that divine judgment was approaching, and that the purification of the earth was inevitable. The actions of the Watchers and the birth of the giants had sealed the fate of the world. Divine justice, though late, would be relentless, and the earth, once corrupted, would be cleansed of the evil that tainted it. In the twilight of divine order, an angel arose whose name would become synonymous with corruption and disobedience, Azazel. Noted for his wisdom and power among the Watchers, he quickly revealed himself as the most dangerous and influential of the fallen angels. Azazel was not content to merely participate in unholy unions with the daughters of men. He sought something deeper, a legacy of destruction and domination through forbidden knowledge. Azazel began to teach men secrets that had been carefully guarded in the heavenly realm. In it, he revealed the mysteries of metallurgy, teaching how to extract and smelt metals, to create tools and weapons. Under his guidance, men learned to forge swords, spears, and shields, transforming the world into a potential battlefield. With the knowledge of weapon making, humanity was thrust into an era of unprecedented violence. Tribes and clans, once content with peace and agriculture, were now drawn to the promise of power and conquest. Wars broke out everywhere, fueled by the desire to dominate and destroy. Blood flowed like rivers, and the land, once green and vibrant, was now marked by death and destruction. Azazel's gifts did not stop at the art of war. He taught cosmetics, a skill that was meant to enhance women's natural beauty, but which quickly became a tool of seduction and manipulation. Women, adorned with face paint, used this new knowledge to influence and control men, distorting the original purpose of cosmetics. Natural beauty was perverted, and vanity became a form of power and control. The purity of beauty was corrupted, and gifts that were meant to be a reflection of divine glory were used for unholy purposes. Azazel, in his quest for absolute power, also taught the practice of magic. He revealed incantations and rituals that allowed humans to interact with demonic forces and manipulate the spirit world. This knowledge paved the way for direct contact with evil entities, disrupting the balance between heaven and earth. The practice of magic became commonplace, and with it, darkness spread even further over humanity. Men and women, intoxicated with their new power, began to indulge in forbidden rituals, invoking forces that should have remained dormant. The spirit world, once a distant and separate realm, was now intimately linked with the mortal world, bringing chaos and disorder. Azazel's corrupting influence spread like a plague, contaminating every aspect of human life. The earth, once a reflection of divine order and beauty, it was now in a state of chaos and violence. The consequences of its actions would be felt for generations, and the balance between heaven and earth seemed irretrievably broken. As the earth sank into an abyss of corruption and violence, 4 faithful angels watched in horror and sadness as events unfolded. Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel, each imbued with divine power and duty, gazed upon the devastation wrought by Azazel's forbidden teachings and the tyranny of the Nephilim. From the heights of the heavens, their visions were piercing, capturing every act of violence, every cry of pain, and every lost soul. Michael, the warrior archangel, felt a fervent indignation rising in his heart. Uriel, the angel of wisdom, sought to fulfill the divine purpose behind such a calamity. Raphael, the angel of healing, felt a deep compassion for the tormented souls. Gabriel, the messenger, prepared to deliver the news to the divine throne. Together, these faithful angels formed a council of justice and divine intervention. The earth was in despair. The souls of the dead, unjustly slaughtered by the Nephilim and corrupted humans, cried out incessantly for justice. Their voices, echoing throughout the spiritual realms, begged God to intervene and punish the guilty. The cry was a chorus of pain and suffering, each cry filled with the anguish of the innocent and the injustice of the oppressed. Lord of Lords, see our affliction and hear our cry. The children of men have been corrupted, and the Watchers have defiled the earth with their forbidden knowledge. We are victims of their rebellion. Bring justice, O Most High, and restore the peace we once knew. So plead the wronged. Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel, moved by the pleas of the dead and the vision of corruption on earth, decided to act together. They ascended to the highest heavens, traversing the spiritual realms until they reached the throne of the Most High. In a magnificent celestial assembly, they prostrated themselves before God, their radiant presences reflecting their devotion and loyalty. Lord of the universe, we come before you to intercede on behalf of humanity. The earth has been corrupted by the teachings of Azazel and the tyranny of the Nephilim. The souls of the righteous cry out for justice, and all creation suffers under the weight of iniquity. We implore you, O Lord, to intervene and stem this tide of evil, he said to me. Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel added their voices, each expressing the urgency and gravity of the situation. Men have been led astray from your ways, and the wounded and sick cry out for healing. The message of repentance must be heard. Together, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel, the faithful angels, made an impassioned plea for divine intervention. God, all-knowing and just, heard the cries of his angels and the souls of the dead. In his immense patience and long-lasting mercy, he observed the depravity that had spread across the earth. The rebellion of the Watchers and the corruption of humanity did not escape his eyes. God, in his wisdom, allowed free will to run its course, but the time for judgment had come. Then God spoke, "I see and know all things. My patience is great, and my love is immense. But these crimes will not go unpunished. Azazel and his follower will answer for their transgressions, and the earth will be cleansed. The righteous will find refuge, and the wicked will face justice." With these words, God decreed the beginning of judgment. He sent Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel back to earth with clear instructions to capture and punish the fallen watchmen and to restore divine order. Heavenly intervention was underway, and the promise of justice was beginning to be realized. God's patience allowed humanity to see the consequences of their choices, but his justice would ensure that balance and harmony were restored. God assigned specific missions to the archangels to deal with the crisis and ensure that his plan was carried out. Each archangel was given a crucial task in restoring divine order and justice. Uriel was sent to earth to warn Noah of the impending flood. He was to guide Noah in building an ark, which would serve as a refuge for him and his family, and the animals that would repopulate the earth after the cleansing. Uriel descended from heaven in a splendor of light and appeared to Noah in a vision. Noah, righteous among men, built an ark of cypress wood. Make it with chambers and cover it with pitch inside and out, for soon a great flood will overwhelm the earth to destroy all flesh in which there is the breath of life under the heavens. But with you I will establish my covenant, Uriel said. Meanwhile, Raphael was given the mission to capture Azazel and imprison him. With strength and determination, Raphael found Azazel, with chains of heavenly fire, bound him and cast him into a deep abyss, where the fallen angel would remain until the day of final judgment. Azazel, who had taught men to wage war and corrupt the beauty of creation, was now confined and powerless, awaiting his eternal punishment. Gabriel was tasked with destroying the Nephilim. With fierce determination, Gabriel incited the giants to fight against each other. The Nephilim, in their arrogance and lust for power, were driven into an internal war, consuming each other in a spiral of violence and death. Thus, the earth began to free itself from their oppression. Michael was given the task of arresting Senjaza and his followers, the leaders of the rebellion. Descending to earth with an army of faithful angels, Michael confronted the fallen angels. With great power, he defeated them, corrupted them, and confined them to deep valleys. The leadership of the Watchers was dismantled, and the rebellion of the fallen angels was contained. Under the divine guidance of Uriel, Noah and his sons worked tirelessly to build the ark. The colossal structure, made of cypress wood and covered with pitch, was a work of faith and obedience. The ark represented the hope of salvation in the midst of impending destruction. While the world around him remained oblivious to his approaching fate, Noah persevered, trusting in the instructions he had received from God. When the ark was finally completed, God commanded Noah to gather 1 pair of each kind of animal, male and female, as well as 7 pairs of clean animals, to ensure the continuation of life after the flood. Noah, his wife, his sons, and his daughters-in-law entered the ark, and God closed the door, sealing them inside to protect them from the catastrophe that was to come. Then the flood began. For 40 days and 40 nights the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and the fountains of the great deep burst forth, covering the entire earth with overwhelming waters. The cities, forests, mountains, and all living things were submerged. The flood was an act of divine purification, sweeping away the corruption and wickedness that had contaminated creation. As the waters rose, the ark floated safely, carrying with it the seed of the new age that was to come. After 150 days, the waters began to recede, and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Arafat. When the waters finally dried up, God commanded Noah to leave the ark. Noah, his family, and the animals disembarked on a renewed earth. Noah's first action upon leaving the ark was to build an altar and offer sacrifices of thanksgiving to God. The sweet aroma rose to the heavens, and God made a covenant with Noah, promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood. As a sign of this covenant, God placed a rainbow in the clouds, a symbol of hope and renewal. The earth, cleansed by the flood, was ready for a new beginning. Divine justice had prevailed, and creation had been restored. Noah and his family began the task of repopulating the earth, bringing with them the promise of a future guided by obedience and faith in God. After the great flood, God the Most High chose the prophet Enoch for a unique and impossible mission. Enoch, known for his righteousness and wisdom, was called to deliver a divine message to the fallen Watchers. This mission was of great importance, for Enoch was to be an intermediary between heaven and earth, a herald of divine wrath and the unforgiveness of the actions of the rebellious angels. Enoch, who had walked with God and been faithful in all his ways, was instructed to descend into the darkest places where the Watchers were confined. He was to announce to them that divine justice was inescapable, and that their transgressions would certainly not be forgiven. The fallen angels, who had once shone with heavenly light, would now hear the final judgment for their depraved actions. Enoch was not just a man, but a being chosen by God for a sacred and terrible task. The sacred records record that Enoch was taken to the heavenly realms, where he learned the mysteries of the cosmos and the secrets of creation. His fellowship with the saints and with God prepared him for the mission that now lay before him. Enoch was aware of the weight of his task, but his unwavering faith and devotion guided him. With a heavy heart, but firm determination, Enoch descended into the dark realms where the Watchers were imprisoned. As he approached the fallen angels, their imposing presence still shone with the remnants of their former glory, but was now tarnished by rebellion and corruption. Enoch, with a clear and powerful voice, proclaimed God's message. "Watchers, I come in the name of the Most High, bringing the message he entrusted to me. You who have rebelled against the heavenly order and corrupted the earth with your forbidden teachings will now hear divine judgment. You will find no peace or forgiveness. Your actions have caused immense and irreparable destruction, and for this, you will face the wrath of the Creator." The expressions on the faces of the fallen angels twisted into a mixture of fear and despair as they heard Enoch's words, which he went on to say, "Your children, the giants, are an abomination and living proof of your disobedience. They will suffer and perish as part of your punishment. The earth that once flourished under divine grace has been stained with the blood and violence you have incited. You will remain confined, separated from the light and glory of God, until the great day of final judgment. Divine justice will be served, and creation will be cleansed of its transgressions. The Most High, in his infinite wisdom and justice, has decreed that harmony will be restored, and divine order will prevail." Enoch's presence among the Watchers as a messenger of doom was a solemn reminder of God's inexorable justice. Their mission, though painful, was necessary to ensure that creation could be redeemed and peace could return to the earth. Enoch, the chosen intermediary, carried out his task with the dignity and faith that had always characterized him, knowing that his role was crucial in restoring divine order. Upon hearing Enoch's terrible message, the Watchers were overcome by a deep and overwhelming fear. The certainty of divine judgment and the absence of forgiveness enveloped them like a pall of despair. These angels, who had once rebelled with arrogance and power, were now overcome with terror and remorse. Their hearts, once hardened by transgression, now felt the weight of their actions and the inevitability of their consequences. Remorse filled their spirits, and a palpable anguish permeated the air as they contemplated the grim fate that awaited them. Desperate and without hope, the Watchers turned to Enoch in heartbreaking supplication. They begged Enoch to intercede for them with the Most High. "Enoch, you are righteous in the eyes of God, and he has chosen you as his messenger. Please intercede for us for mercy. Write a petition on our behalf, asking for forgiveness for our transgressions and relief from our torment." Enoch, moved by the anguish of the Watchers, accepted the task with a heavy heart. He knew that divine justice was inexorable, but he also understood the despair of those who had fallen. With steady hands, he began to write the petition, each word filled with pain and regret. The pleas of the Watchers echoed in his mind as he composed the message intended for the Creator. As Enoch wrote the petition, he was suddenly struck by a disturbing vision. His eyes, previously focused on the parchment, began to see images of suffering and torment. He saw the fallen Watchers in a state of eternal agony, chained in deep darkness, where fire and ice coexisted in endless torment. Their souls cried out in despair. But there was no answer, only the endless echo of their own lamentations. The vision unfolded with frightening clarity. Enoch saw the children of the Watchers, the giants suffering in similar ways, their monstrous forms tormented by the very weight of their existence. The Nephilim, who had once ruled the earth with tyranny and violence, were now punished by their own corrupt nature. Divine justice in its purest and most ruthless form was being meted out to all who had participated in the rebellion. Enoch felt a chill run down his spine as the vision continued. He saw the earth being cleansed by judgment, the flood washing away corruption and ushering in a new era of hope. But for the Watchers, there was no such hope. Their punishment was sealed, and the vision served as an undeniable confirmation of their fate. As he emerged from the vision, Enoch was deeply shaken. He had completed the petition, but now he understood with painful clarity that intercession would hardly alert the divine verdict. He handed the petition to the Watchers, who received it with trembling hands filled with a mixture of hope and despair. Enoch, with the petition reviewed by the Watchers in hand, began a mystical journey guided by heavenly forces. Passing through portals of fire and light, he ascended to the higher realms, where time and space merge into an eternal present. With each portal he passed, Enoch felt the divine presence intensify, enveloping him in an aura of holiness and power. The heavenly pathways were filled with dazzling visions. He saw the angelic hosts in their resplendent glory, singing praises to the Most High. He beheld the perfect order of the cosmos, each star and galaxy in its appointed position, reflecting the harmony of the divine plan. Finally, after a journey that transcended mortal comprehension, Enoch approached the throne of God. Upon sight of the throne of God, Enoch felt awe fill his being. He prostrated himself before the throne, overwhelmed by the magnificence of the heavenly court. Divine glory enveloped him, a light so brilliant that it seemed to penetrate to the very soul. The angels surrounding the throne, in their purity and majesty, sang ceaselessly. Before this sublime vision, Enoch presented the petition of the Watchers, his words humble and full of hope. He begged for divine mercy, bearing with him the despair of the fallen angels. In his heart, he knew that God's justice was perfect, but his compassion for the fallen impelled him to try. The divine response came like a thunderclap, a powerful voice that reverberated throughout the cosmos. "Enoch, my faithful servant, I hear your plea and see the burden you bear." However, the Watchers who abandoned their posts and corrupted the earth with their teachings will find no forgiveness. They have violated divine laws and spread iniquity among men. The Watchers' petition is rejected. They will be imprisoned on earth until the day of final judgment, when their actions will be weighed on the scales of justice. Their children, the giants, will suffer the same fate, for they are the embodiment of their transgression. Enoch felt the firmness of the divine decree and the inevitability of the Watchers' fate. With a heavy heart, but understanding the need for divine justice, Enoch began his descent back to earth. The glory he had witnessed and the powerful voice of God would remain with him, guiding him as he fulfilled his final mission. Upon returning to the place of punishment for the fallen angels, Enoch found the Watchers in anxious anticipation. He then communicated to them the harsh divine verdict. Upon hearing the sentence, the Watchers were overcome with even greater despair, knowing that their fate was sealed. Enoch, having fulfilled his mission, returned to the heavenly realms, where he would now continue to serve as a beacon of justice and wisdom until the end of time. We hope you enjoyed this story brought to you by the Parablemanor channel. We appreciate your viewing and invite you to continue exploring our videos. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.